Sweet. Welcome to another Tuesday Trigger session with our guest, Aviv from PandaMatch. For those of you that don't know, PandaMatch is like the best alternative to some of the far more expensive options that we've seen in the past. So it's getting a lot of hype right now because it's like a really effective version of like Ocean.io without spending millions of dollars. And so, yeah, anyways, we've got Aviv on. He is an absolute subject matter expert. I want to chat with Aviv about some of the things that he's seeing and why like using a tool like PandaMatch is so important. Again, and this comes from not like a sponsored post place. This comes from like literally you need to be doing this, right? There is no sponsorship on anything Tuesday Triggers related. There's no kickbacks. It is because targeting is getting harder and using Apollo where your source of data is not working, right? And so I love chatting with Aviv, but I wanted to talk like Aviv, maybe you can spend some time talking about, let's just talk about like the reasons that you need to be using a tool like PandaMatch to be successful and kind of break down some of the different types of data, right? From like the technographic, firmographic, all of these different standpoints and what PandaMatch brings to the table.
Yeah, those are some good points. So just to give you an idea of what PandaMatch does, so PandaMatch scrapes the entire internet. We're not just relying on LinkedIn. We're not just relying on, an Apollo. We are scraping the internet. We check to see if they have a valid security certificate. And then, that way we're not picking up like random park domains. And then from there, we have our own natural language model that will analyze the content of the website and basically understand the concept ideas, and then present it to the users as accounts or lookalike data. So a really good analogy could be, traditionally everyone would just go to the grocery store to get their food. But if you had access to all the farms where, you had access to all the raw goods, wouldn't you the abundance would be much greater. And then, you'd be able to essentially source exactly the types of material and types of good that you would need to, make your dish at home instead of just going to the grocery store and, buying a packaged good. So in this sense, a lot of salespeople rely heavily on, databases like LinkedIn, databases like Apollo, like ZoomInfo, and those are quite limited to specific data sets. And, when it comes to data and targeting and list building, you want proprietary data. And the closest thing to that is their website, is their social media. So we basically crawl and scrape all that information and then package that data to the user. So that's why, not only are users using PandaMatch to find lookalike companies, but also using it to map out their TAM. So, we use our natural language model to basically take all of the concepts and ideas of the offering of those companies and then present it to the user where, if you go on like a database like Apollo or one of those historical databases, you have to filter them out based on industries and keywords, which oftentimes means you're missing out on companies that are actually in your target market.
Yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Sure. So think of it this way. If you're on Apollo and you're, playing around with the keywords and you want to find let's say you want to find like SaaS companies that target logistics, for example, you would have to play around with different keywords. You might end up picking up, advertising and marketing agencies, which are not a part of your target market at all. So instead of relying on industries and keywords, there's a new way to map out your TAM, and that's basically using AI, some kind of natural language model, to analyze the company's offerings and their online presence and their domain infrastructure to find out who exactly is in your target market. Another good example as well is we had a use case where someone from Cold IQ's community was looking for companies that offer citizenship by investment, immigration by investments. How would you go about finding those kind of companies by filtering out the keywords and the industry. Does it fall into human resources? Does it fall into legal? Is it finance? Is it real estate? Is it travel? Like which of those keywords and industries does it fall under? So without actually having to play around with those keywords and industries, you can quite literally just write out the description of the company or just give a similar domain, and it will give you all of the accounts that are very similar to that offering. And that's the new way of TAM mapping and finding all of your potential customers. It's not just limited to just a rigid structure based on keyword-based mapping and industry-based mapping.
So you said, it's a great way for TAM mapping, but like, okay, that's cool. I'm at my TAM. I see I've got, 50,000 companies I could go after. Now what?
So great, yeah. Now you have 50,000 companies that you can go after. One of the best ways to do it, to find the contacts, is to push the data to Clay. And then you have, an assortment of data enrichment tools that you can use to find their email, their phone number. Some of the good ones are Lead Magic. You also have Prospeo. Full Enrich is also pretty good. So there's different tools out there that you can use to find the contacts. So, now you're going from, if you were to just pull the contacts directly from Apollo, you're going to be limited to LinkedIn data only, but if you're targeting commercial cleaning services, not all of them are going to have a LinkedIn presence. And then on top of that, if their website has emails and phone numbers listed on their website, we'll give it to you guys as part of the company data.
So what would you compare, like, maybe you can make some sort of comparison, but what is like using Apollo as your data source versus using PandaMatch as your data source like nowadays? Is Apollo just totally antiquated, or?
Apollo good if you're going after companies that are on LinkedIn. So, for example, like you wouldn't go to Apollo. Let's say if you're working for a legal tech company, you're not going to use Apollo to find all the law firms, and also you might not even use Google Maps either, because nowadays everything is remote and virtual, and not every single lawyer is going to have a physical address, a physical office that's on Google Maps. So the best way to do that is to actually scrape and find their website. And if they have the content on their website that is tied to being a personal injury lawyer or a corporate lawyer or an employment lawyer, we'll pick that up, because we can, we're using AI essentially, and the way AI is just progressing, it makes it easier to identify and accurately decide, which companies are the right fit for your tab.
That's awesome. Out of curiosity, what do you see as trends in the coming year that people need to focus on or be aware of?
Well, the way people are building their list will change. They're going to start to see that it goes beyond just LinkedIn, just Google Maps. Also, another thing which is on our roadmap, but something we are paying close attention to, is offsite data. What happens if they don't really have, what if they don't have a LinkedIn? Like, how do you get their contact? So this is also part of the reason why we're seeing a lot of these website visitor identification companies popping up, the RB2B, the vectors, that sort of thing. They're in the realm of offsite data and providing contact enrichment for those companies that visit your website. In the past, it used to be they'll just tell you the companies, but now people want to find the contacts. And one thing that will never change in sales and marketing is like data is oil for the sales and marketing engine. You need to constantly be feeding it updated data. Otherwise, it's going to become stale, and then you're going to miss out on revenue. And we see that, when you target the wrong company, the impact is you can burn your domain infrastructure. I wouldn't go as far as saying that you can hurt your reputation, but yeah, like if you're a bigger company with a strong online presence, like if you're, like, for example, like if you're a Microsoft, or even if you're an Amazon or Google, and you're just sending like nonsense. Even honestly, the other day I saw a deal, not to just like, throw any names out there, but I saw someone made a post about a company that was a pretty big company. They're doing about 800 million in annual recurring revenue, and their CRM's a mess because they're reaching out to customers thinking that they're cold prospects, and oftentimes I have people doing that to me as well. I'm like, hey man, like I'm a customer of yours. So you got to keep your data clean. You got to find new ways to, find new customers to fill out your pipeline because it eventually dries up. And, data is and always will be the oil for sales and marketing engines.
Cool, man. All right. Appreciate the time, brother. Great chatting with you, and look forward to catching up on the Tuesday Trigger Session.
Of course. Thanks, guys.